The space station Orion 7 orbited a dying red star, its metallic hull glinting faintly in the dim light. It was humanity's pride, a sprawling outpost designed to host the first-ever intergalactic cultural exchange summit. Delegates from across the galaxy had traveled light years to attend, each bringing their unique customs, technologies, and perspectives. For weeks, humans buzzed with excitement, preparing for this monumental event that would either unite species or deepen divides. Captain Elias Drake stood at the main docking bay, his broad shoulders tense beneath his uniform. As head of security, he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. This wasn't just any diplomatic gathering. It was humanity's chance to prove they belonged among the stars. His sharp blue eyes scanned the bustling crowd of dignitaries, reporters, and curious onlookers as alien ships descended one by one, their designs ranging from sleek and elegant to bizarre and unsettling. When the Zithari vessel arrived, murmurs rippled through the room. The ship itself resembled liquid metal, shifting and shimmering like an oil slick under sunlight. Its arrival was silent, almost ghostly, until a soft hum filled the air. A ramp extended downward, and all eyes turned toward the figure emerging from within. She moved with an otherworldly grace, her elongated limbs flowing rather than walking. Her skin seemed alive, shifting colors with every step. Iridescent blues, purples, and silvers danced across her form. Bioluminescent tendrils framed her face, pulsating gently, as though responding to unseen stimuli. She was tall, taller than most humans, yet there was something delicate about her presence. Her large, almond-shaped eyes reflected the station's artificial lighting, glowing faintly gold. Elias swallowed hard, trying not to stare. He'd seen images of the Zithari before, but nothing could prepare him for seeing one up close. She didn't look dangerous, but she radiated an aura of power and mystery that made his instincts flare. "Captain Drake," came a voice over his earpiece. "Escort Ambassador Valithra to the conference hall." Taking a deep breath, Elias approached her. "Ambassador Valithra," he said, bowing slightly, a gesture meant to show respect. "I'm Captain Elias Drake. I'll be your escort during your stay." She tilted her head, studying him with those luminous eyes. Her lips parted, revealing rows of small, pearl-like teeth. "Greetings, Captain Drake," she replied in flawless English, her voice melodic, yet strangely resonant. "Your species is intriguing." Elias blinked, unsure how to respond. Escorting her through the crowded corridors proved more challenging than expected. People stopped mid-step to gawk, some whispering behind raised hands while others openly pointed cameras. Valithra didn't seem bothered by the attention. Instead, she observed everything with quiet curiosity. At one point, they passed a group of human delegates arguing loudly about trade agreements. One man caught sight of Valithra and froze mid-sentence, his jaw dropping. Without thinking, Elias muttered, "Don't mind them. Humans can be messy sometimes." Valithra paused, turning to face him. "Messy, yet you create art, music, and stories unlike any other species. Messiness seems to suit you." Her words caught him off guard. Before he could reply, another delegate bumped into him, muttering an apology. When Elias looked back, Valithra had already resumed walking, her tendrils flickering softly. As they reached the grand hall, Elias found himself struggling to keep pace with her long strides. Finally, unable to resist, he blurted out, "You're the most beautiful one here." The moment the words left his mouth, he regretted them. Heat rushed to his cheeks as Valithra stopped abruptly, tilting her head again. "Beautiful?" she asked, her tone thoughtful. "What does beautiful mean?" Elias opened his mouth, then closed it, realizing he had no good answer. Around them, whispers erupted. Some laughed nervously, while others exchanged knowing glances. In that instant, Elias realized this alien woman wasn't just mysterious. She was going to challenge everything he thought he knew about beauty, humanity, and himself. And somehow, he couldn't wait to see what happened next. The summit was in full swing, and the grand hall buzzed with activity. Delegates from across the galaxy gathered around tables laden with exotic foods, holographic displays showcasing alien technology, and artifacts representing countless cultures. Despite the air of celebration, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Every species wanted something: trade agreements, alliances, or simply proof that they were superior to their neighbors. Valithra stood at the edge of the room, her shimmering form drawing stares wherever she went. She observed silently, her bioluminescent tendrils glowing faintly as if reflecting her thoughts. Captain Elias Drake lingered nearby, torn between his duty to keep watch over her and his growing curiosity about this enigmatic ambassador. Elias approached cautiously, clearing his throat to get her attention. "Ambassador," he began, unsure how to phrase his question, "do you enjoy the summit so far?" Valithra turned to him, her golden eyes locking onto his. "Enjoyment is a human concept," she replied smoothly. "I am here to observe, not to indulge." Her words stung slightly, though Elias wasn't sure why. "You asked me earlier what beautiful means," he said, trying to steer the conversation toward safer ground. "Have you figured it out yet?" She tilted her head, a gesture that had become oddly familiar. "Your species associates beauty with physical appearance, symmetry, color, shape, but these traits vary wildly across life forms. To my people, beauty might mean harmony, balance, or even silence." Her voice softened. "What does it mean to you?" Elias hesitated. He'd never given much thought to such abstract ideas. Growing up on Earth's colonies, survival had always taken priority over philosophy. "I guess it's something that makes you stop and look twice," he admitted. "Something rare, maybe, something worth protecting." Valithra's tendrils flickered briefly, as though processing his response. "And do you believe your actions align with this idea of protection?" The question caught him off guard. "What do you mean?" "Humans claim to value beauty, yet many destroy what they deem unworthy. A forest for resources, a creature for sport. Do you protect only what pleases you, or do you see beyond appearances?" Her words struck a nerve. Elias glanced around the room, watching humans mingle with aliens. Some were genuinely interested in learning. Others seemed more focused on gaining power or influence. He couldn't deny that humanity had a complicated relationship with beauty and destruction. Over the next few days, Valithra continued to ask probing questions, not just of Elias but of everyone she encountered. She attended lectures on art, music, and architecture, marveling at humanity's creativity, while pointing out its contradictions. During one session, an artist proudly displayed a painting of a sunset, calling it the essence of beauty. Valithra studied it intently before asking, "Does this image capture beauty because it is pleasing to the eye, or because it reminds you of fleeting moments you cannot hold?" The audience fell silent, unsure how to respond. Even Elias felt uneasy, realizing how shallow some human pursuits could seem when viewed through her lens. Yet despite her critiques, Valithra remained fascinated by humanity. She spent hours observing ordinary people, children playing, workers chatting during breaks, couples sharing quiet moments. Each observation seemed to spark new questions. Why did humans laugh? What inspired acts of kindness? Could emotions truly transcend language? One evening, as the station's artificial sky shifted to mimic twilight, Elias found Valithra standing alone near a viewport. Stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass, their light distorted by the dying star's gravity. "You're different from the others," he said after a moment. "Most ambassadors are here to negotiate. You're here to understand." Valithra didn't turn to face him. "Understanding is a form of negotiation," she replied cryptically. "But perhaps understanding requires more courage than bargaining." Her words lingered in the air, leaving Elias with more questions than answers. As he walked away, he couldn't shake the feeling that Valithra's mission was far deeper, and possibly far more dangerous, than anyone realized. The gala was supposed to be a celebration, a chance for delegates to relax after days of intense negotiations and cultural exchanges. The Grand Hall had been transformed into a dazzling spectacle, with floating holograms of alien landscapes, tables laden with delicacies from across the galaxy, and music that blended human melodies with unearthly harmonies. Yet beneath the glittering surface, tensions simmered like a storm waiting to break. Captain Ilias Drake stood near the entrance, scanning the room. His eyes kept drifting back to Valithra, who moved gracefully among the crowd. She wore no adornments, yet her iridescent skin caught the light in ways that made her appear otherworldly. Humans whispered behind their hands as she passed, some awestruck, others uneasy. Even among aliens, she stood out, not just because of her appearance, but because of the quiet intensity she carried. Elias noticed something unusual when he spotted a group of Zithari drones hovering at the edge of the room. They were small, sleek machines with glowing cores, unlike anything he'd seen before. Their presence sent a ripple of unease through him. Why would Valithra bring drones to a social event? And why did they seem to be watching her so closely? Before he could investigate further, chaos erupted. A deafening explosion rocked the station, sending shockwaves through the hall. Lights flickered, and panicked screams filled the air as debris rained down from the ceiling. Delegates scrambled for cover, pushing and shoving in their desperation to escape. Through the confusion, Elias's eyes locked onto Valithra. She remained eerily calm, standing amidst the chaos as if untouched by fear. But then he realized she wasn't alone. The drones surrounded her, forming a protective barrier. Their lights pulsed rapidly, creating an eerie glow that illuminated her face. Her tendrils writhed wildly, glowing brighter than ever before. "Stay back," Elias shouted, drawing his weapon as he pushed through the panicked crowd. When he finally reached her, he froze. The drones weren't attacking. They were scanning her, emitting low-frequency hums that vibrated through the air. It was as though they were communicating silently, probing her very essence. "What's happening?" Elias demanded, lowering his weapon. "Who are these things?" Valithra turned to him, her golden eyes unreadable. "They belong to another faction within my people," she said quietly. "They do not agree with my mission here." Her words hit him like a punch. "Your mission? What mission? You're here for diplomacy, aren't you?" For the first time, Valithra hesitated. Her tendrils dimmed slightly, betraying uncertainty. "I was sent to judge humanity," she admitted, "to determine whether your species is worthy of joining the galactic community." Elias stared at her, stunned. "Judge us? Based on what?" "On whether you truly understand what it means to value others, not just for their utility or appearances, but for who they are." Her voice softened. "And now some of my kind believe I have grown too close to you." As if on cue, the drones began to retreat, vanishing into thin air as quickly as they had appeared. The hall fell silent, save for the distant sound of emergency alarms. Delegates cautiously emerged from hiding, eyeing Valithra with suspicion. Whispers spread like wildfire. Was she a threat? Had she orchestrated the attack? Elias stepped closer, his mind racing. "Why didn't you tell me any of this sooner?" "Because I needed to see for myself," she replied, her gaze steady. "Humans speak often of beauty, kindness, and progress, yet your actions sometimes contradict your words. I wanted to decide whether you deserve a second chance, or if my people should intervene." Her honesty left Elias speechless. For all her mystery, Valithra wasn't just an observer. She held humanity's fate in her hands. And judging by the look in her glowing eyes, she hadn't made up her mind yet. As the cleanup crews arrived and order slowly returned, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that the summit, and perhaps humanity itself, was teetering on the brink of something far greater than anyone had anticipated. The next morning, the atmosphere aboard Orion 7 was tense. News of the attack had spread quickly, and rumors swirled about Valithra's true intentions. Some delegates accused her of orchestrating the chaos to manipulate humanity. Others speculated that she was a pawn in a larger interstellar conflict. Only Captain Elias Drake seemed willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, though even he couldn't ignore the weight of her revelation. When Valithra addressed the gathered delegates in the main hall, her voice carried an authority that silenced the room. "The events of last night were not part of my plan," she began, her glowing tendrils flickering softly as if to emphasize her words. "But they have revealed something important. We cannot move forward without understanding one another fully." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the crowd. "To achieve this, I propose a series of challenges. These tests will reveal your true nature, not just as individuals, but as representatives of your species. Your actions during these trials will determine whether humanity earns its place among the stars." Murmurs rippled through the room. Challenges. Tests. The idea felt both thrilling and terrifying. Some delegates exchanged nervous glances, while others straightened their posture, eager to prove themselves. Elias watched from the sidelines, his jaw tightening. He didn't trust Valithra completely, but he knew her methods weren't arbitrary. There was purpose behind every word, every gesture. Still, the thought of humanity being judged made him uneasy. What if they failed? The first challenge took place in a simulated environment, a sprawling cityscape ravaged by disaster. Delegates were tasked with working together to save survivors trapped in collapsing buildings. Each participant wore a neural interface that projected realistic sensations, making the simulation feel horrifyingly real. From the start, cracks began to show. A reptilian delegate named Korthax immediately seized control, barking orders and ignoring input from others. When a human engineer suggested a safer route to rescue a group of children, Korthax dismissed him outright, insisting speed mattered more than caution. Moments later, a virtual building collapsed, killing several survivors in the process. Meanwhile, a faction of humans led by Senator Marlowe hoarded resources, refusing to share medical supplies with injured aliens. "We need to look out for our own first," Marlowe snapped when confronted. His selfishness sparked outrage among the other delegates, further fracturing the already fragile alliances. Throughout it all, Elias found himself torn between frustration and admiration. While some humans acted selfishly, others shone with unexpected heroism. One young scientist risked her life to stabilize a crumbling bridge, allowing multiple species to cross safely. Another delegate, an insectoid creature with 6 limbs, used its natural strength to lift debris off trapped survivors, despite sustaining injuries itself. Valithra observed everything silently, her bioluminescent tendrils dimming and brightening in response to the unfolding drama. At one point, Elias caught her watching him intently. When their eyes met, she nodded slightly, as though acknowledging something unspoken. Later, during a break in the trials, Elias approached her. "You're judging us pretty harshly," he said, his tone guarded. "Is this really fair? Every species has flaws." "Fairness is irrelevant," Valithra replied. "What matters is potential. Do you see value beyond yourselves, or are you doomed to repeat the same mistakes?" Her words lingered in his mind long after she walked away. As the challenges continued, Elias realized that Valithra wasn't just testing humanity. She was forcing them to confront their darkest impulses and highest aspirations. And though the outcome remained uncertain, one thing was clear: whatever happened next would change the course of history. The challenges grew more intense with each passing day, pushing the delegates to their limits. The simulations became increasingly complex, testing not just physical abilities but moral fortitude and emotional resilience. For every act of courage or selflessness, there were moments of greed, betrayal, and cruelty that left Elias questioning whether humanity truly deserved a place among the stars. One particularly grueling trial took place in a virtual wilderness where resources were scarce. Delegates were divided into small groups and forced to survive for 3 days without assistance. The goal was simple: work together to endure. Yet it quickly became apparent that survival would come at a cost. In one group, a human politician named Senator Marlowe took charge, hoarding food and water while claiming it was necessary for strategic planning. When an alien delegate, a frail bird-like creature named Zanara, pleaded for a share, Marlowe sneered. "You're weak," he said coldly. "If you can't keep up, maybe your species doesn't belong here." Zanara collapsed soon after, her feathered body trembling, as the simulation mimicked starvation. Though some humans tried to intervene, Marlowe blocked their efforts, insisting they needed to prioritize their own survival. It wasn't until Elias intervened, using his authority as head of security, that Zanara received aid. By then, her condition had worsened, and the damage was done. Valithra watched the entire ordeal silently, her glowing tendrils dimming to a faint pulse. She didn't interfere, but her disappointment was palpable. Later, when Elias confronted her about Marlowe's behavior, she simply said, "Your species values strength over compassion. Is that what you wish to teach the galaxy?" Elias clenched his fists, frustration bubbling inside him. "Not all of us are like that," he argued. "There are good people too. You've seen them." "Good intentions mean little without action," Valithra replied. "Kindness must be chosen, even when it is difficult." Despite these dark moments, there were glimmers of hope. In another challenge, delegates faced a simulated pandemic threatening to wipe out an alien village. While many prioritized finding a cure, a young human doctor named Dr. Elena Vega made a bold decision. She risked exposure to the virtual virus herself, using her body to test potential treatments. Her sacrifice saved countless lives within the simulation and earned her respect from both humans and aliens alike. Even Elias found himself tested during a personal trial designed to confront his deepest fears. Placed in a nightmare scenario where he relived the loss of his crew during a failed mission years ago, Elias struggled to break free from guilt and regret. But instead of succumbing to despair, he chose to honor their memory by fighting harder than ever before. When the simulation ended, he emerged shaken yet resolute, earning Valithra's quiet approval. As the trials progressed, tensions between factions escalated. Some delegates accused Valithra of bias, claiming her tests favored cooperation over competition. Others whispered that she was manipulating outcomes to justify humanity's exclusion. Through it all, Elias remained steadfast, defending her impartiality even as doubts gnawed at him. One evening, as the station's artificial sky shifted to mimic twilight, Elias approached Valithra near a viewport overlooking the stars. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, his voice heavy with emotion. "Why put us through so much pain?" She turned to him, her golden eyes reflecting the distant light of dying suns. "Pain reveals truth," she said softly. "Only by facing who you truly are can you decide who you want to become." Her words lingered in the air, leaving Elias with a profound sense of unease and determination. If humanity wanted to prove itself worthy, they would have to rise above their flaws. And time was running out. The final challenge loomed ahead, its stakes higher than ever. Delegates were tense, their nerves frayed from days of relentless trials. Rumors spread that the last test would determine humanity's fate, whether they'd be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Alliance or deemed unworthy of inclusion. Captain Elias Drake felt the weight of expectation pressing down on him. He knew this wasn't just about passing a test. It was about proving humanity could rise above its flaws. But before the challenge could begin, betrayal struck. A rogue faction of humans, disillusioned colonists who feared alien domination, launched a desperate attack on the station. Explosions rocked Orien 7 *, sending delegates fleeing for safety. Chaos erupted as masked insurgents stormed the corridors, armed with crude but effective weapons. Their leader, a fiery-eyed man named Jarek, shouted into a megaphone, "We won't let aliens decide our future. Humanity stands alone." Elias sprang into action, rallying his security team to protect the delegates. Amid the pandemonium, he realized Valithra was missing. Her absence sent a chill through him. If anything happened to her, the consequences would be catastrophic, not just for humanity, but for the entire summit. Ignoring the danger, Elias raced through the damaged sections of the station, following faint traces of bioluminescent light left behind by Valithra's tendrils. The trail led him to a sealed maintenance bay, where he found her surrounded by strange, floating drones emitting pulses of light. They weren't like the ones from before. These were larger, more menacing, and clearly hostile. "Valithra," Elias called out, raising his weapon. She turned to him, her glow dimming as if drained of energy. "Stay back," she warned, her voice strained. "These are enforcers sent by my people. They've come to stop me." The drone's lights pulsed faster, creating a deafening hum that vibrated through the room. One of them shot a beam of energy toward Valithra, forcing her to dodge. Her movements were slower now, her usual grace replaced by exhaustion. Elias didn't hesitate. Charging forward, he fired at the nearest drone, his shots ricocheting off its metallic surface. The machine retaliated, knocking him to the ground with a burst of force. Pain seared through his side, but he gritted his teeth and kept fighting. "Why are they attacking you?" Elias demanded, struggling to his feet. "They believe I've grown too sympathetic to your species," Valithra explained, dodging another attack. "They fear I'll jeopardize the Zitharis' plans for humanity." "What plans?" Elias pressed, narrowly avoiding a blast. Valithra hesitated, then revealed the truth. "My people seeded life across countless worlds, including Earth. We are not merely judges. We are creators. If I deem humanity unworthy, I have the power to reset your evolution." The revelation hit Elias like a punch to the gut. Humanity's existence hung by a thread, and Valithra held the scissors, summoning every HFY. The standoff in the maintenance bay reached its climax. The drone's relentless attacks left both Elias and Valithra battered, their options dwindling with each passing second. Elias clutched his side, blood seeping through his fingers, but he refused to give up. His mind raced, searching for a way to turn the tide. "Valithra," he panted, "if you're supposed to judge us, then judge me now. Don't let them take this choice away from you, or from humanity." Her glowing tendrils flickered, her expression unreadable. For a moment, she seemed torn between duty and defiance. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, she stepped forward, her body radiating an intense light that forced the drones to retreat momentarily. "This is my decision," she declared, her voice resonating with authority. "Not yours." The drones hesitated, their lights dimming as if processing her words. But they didn't leave. Instead, one emitted a low-frequency pulse, shaking the room violently. It was clear. They wouldn't back down without a fight. Elias knew they couldn't hold out much longer. Summoning the last of his strength, he grabbed a fallen piece of debris and hurled it at the nearest drone, distracting it just long enough for Valithra to act. With a swift motion, she extended her tendrils, wrapping them around the drone's core. A surge of energy coursed through her, causing her to cry out in pain. But the drone collapsed, deactivated. Encouraged by her success, Elias tackled another drone, damaging its propulsion system. Together, they managed to disable the remaining enforcers, leaving the bay eerily silent. Breathing heavily, Elias leaned against the wall, his vision swimming. "You did it," he said weakly. "You stood up to them." Valithra approached him, her glow softer now, almost gentle. "No," she replied. "We did it. Humanity's worth cannot be decided by me alone. It must be proven by all of you." When the crisis subsided, Valithra addressed the gathered delegates once more. The station had sustained damage, but no lives were lost thanks to the combined efforts of humans and aliens who worked together to restore order. Standing before the assembly, Valithra announced her verdict. "Humanity has shown me two sides of itself," she began. "There is darkness, greed, fear, and violence. But there is also light, compassion, courage, and hope. You are flawed, yes, but so are all beings who strive to grow. I will advocate for your inclusion in the galactic community, not because you are perfect, but because you have the potential to become better." A wave of relief swept through the room, followed by cautious applause. Even skeptical delegates nodded in agreement, moved by her words. As the summit concluded, Elias accompanied Valithra to her ship. The moment felt bittersweet. Though grateful for her decision, he knew she belonged among the stars. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for believing in us." She tilted her head, her golden eyes meeting his. "And thank you for reminding me what it means to believe in others and in oneself." With that, she stepped aboard her vessel, which shimmered like liquid metal before ascending into the void. As it disappeared, Elias stood watching, feeling a mix of pride and determination. Humanity's journey among the stars had only just begun, and thanks to Valithra, they'd been given a chance to shape a brighter future. For the first time in days, Elias smiled. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew humanity could face them together.